Part 84. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 831. Chapter 831. And Ran agrees to get married. Miss, if not, please listen to my wife once and find someone with a family background who is of marriageable age. Let's get married. Yuan Ran was silent for a long time and responded in a low voice, okay. Getting Yuan Ran's accurate answer made the housekeeper feel happy and sad at the same time. Happily, his young lady has finally figured it out. As long as the marriage is helpful, the madam and the young lady, mother and daughter, will no longer have to worry so much. The sad thing is the marriage. Marrying someone you don't love is a painful thing. But for the Yu family, and for the emotionally weak Yuan Ran, marriage is probably the best way at the moment. Yuan Ran relaxed, and the housekeeper immediately conveyed this not so good news to MRSU. MRSU was indeed very happy. Because MRSU lost trust in love and love after she was betrayed by Yuan Ran's biological father. She always felt that it was most important for her daughter to marry a rich and powerful man and obtain life security. So when Yuan Ran really relaxed, MRSU sent the general information of the person she had chosen before to Yuan Ran. Yuan Ran didn't look. Let mother choose. I will try whichever she thinks is best for the Yu family. Of course, marriage is a matter between both parties. After Yuan Ran picks it out, she will have to discuss it with the other party. If the other party is also satisfied with the marriage, then the marriage will be successful. The butler had a smile on his face and seemed not worried at all. Miss, as long as you don't deliberately embarrass yourself with sophisticated makeup like before, I believe any man will be tempted when he sees you. The housekeeper took Yuan Ran's appearance very naturally. In fact it is. It's like Yuan Ran doesn't wear makeup now because she is hospitalized, and her plain appearance is less cool and more gentle. Yuan Ran has an innately cool and graceful temperament. If someone happened to discover her beauty, they would really fall in love with her and be unable to extricate themselves. Miss. The housekeeper called her twice in succession, and Yuan Ran seemed to have come back to her senses. She replied to the steward, I heard what you just said. The housekeeper is very pleased. It seems that the eldest daughter of their Yu family has finally grown up. Sure enough, growth requires experiencing hardships. MRSU chose a young master named Deng for Yuan Ran according to her own vision. After Yuan Ran was discharged from the hospital and rested for a day, Yuan Ran took the initiative to meet the young master. It was not that she was anxious to get married, but that she lived in the Yu family after being discharged from the hospital and saw her mother working hard in the middle of the night and coughing. As a daughter, she should repay the favor. Time waits for no one. If we delay for one more day, the Yu group's crisis will worsen. If only marriage can solve this problem, she will marry. In short, it's impossible to fall in love with anyone else in this life, so it doesn't matter who you're with. The Yu family and the Deng family discussed with each other and agreed on a time to meet. This matter happened to reach B's ears again. Kitano broke the cup on the spot and sent a big temper. It's really a long-term skill. Let the woman named Deng go home, I haven't played enough women, who dare to grab. Chu Sui then realized that his boss was angry because he couldn't get a beauty. Today, Yuan Ran finally put aside her mature professional attire. MRSU prepared a blue dress for her, with a slim waist and a long skirt that wrapped her slender figure like a living mermaid. Fried Mao Vinegar Wang Bi, Grandpa's daughter-in-law will be snatched away. You quickly smash the author with a recommendation ticket. A pram in the next chapter? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 832. Chapter 832. Her true appearance is stunning. Yuan Ran had not put on makeup at this time, but except for her pale face, she was really impeccable. Miss, are you doing the makeup yourself or should we help you do it today? The Yu family originally had a makeup artist, but Yu and Ran always refused. As for this time, you guys do it. Since you have agreed, you must do it well. Strive to take down Master Deng at once, so that the Yu family can be saved, and in this way, she will complete her mission as the daughter of the Yu family. Yuan Ran closed her eyes and let the makeup designer work on her face and hair. She waited until she needed to open her eyes to cooperate. She was not very interested in her own makeup. Only when it was completed at the last moment did Yuan Ran really open his eyes to see. I have always heard others say that my appearance is beautiful. After being carefully decorated, all the advantages of my facial features are revealed. Perfect. Onlookers thought it was very perfect. Seeing her carefully dressed up, it was like a visual feast. That feast is enough for her alone. It's just Yuan Ran's slightly pursed thin lips that revealed her discomfort. Or maybe, not so willingly. 9.88 out of 10 women in the world love beauty, but only 5% of people in the world want women to be beautiful. Yuan Ran is the latter. By the time she finished dressing up, the Yu family's car was already waiting outside. Yuan Ran got into the car calmly, but she was still in a daze when she arrived at the Blue Mountain restaurant. Why is it this ghost place again? Is this Blue Mountain restaurant so famous now? She comes here to see everyone. And Yuan Ran always felt that every time he appeared here, he would be affected and couldn't help but think of that man. This is a very bad experience. Are you sure this is here? Of course, miss, this is what the madam personally ordered. Okay, Yuan Ran didn't care about this matter at first, but now that she has reached the door, what else can she do? Leave it as it is. The taste of this Blue Mountain restaurant is very elegant, and the number of guests coming and going is not endless, but the business here is also steady. Yuan Ran's appearance lasted only a moment, but it still caused some small sensation. After all, who doesn't love beauty? When one person talks about it, the second person will be curious, the third person will also want to see it, and the fourth person, in short, they are just asking for a second look. Fortunately, we had an appointment in a private room today. Yuan Ran's figure hurried past the hall and disappeared quickly. Adhering to the principle of making appointments half an hour in advance, Yuan Ran waited calmly in the private room. 10 minutes have passed, 20 minutes have passed. The housekeeper who came with her was a little anxious. Why hasn't Master Deng come yet? It's not time yet. Yuan Ran's calm words calmed the housekeeper's depression, so he waited calmly for another 10 minutes. That young master of the Deng family still hasn't come. This time the housekeeper called to urge him, but was told that the young master of the Deng family was taken away by his friends on the way to the blind date. He could not persuade him to come back now. Even if he wanted to go on a blind date, the time would have to be moved back. The housekeeper was so angry that he almost threw his phone and his face was extremely ugly. Yuan Ran's expression remained unchanged. The housekeeper was a little reluctant, but he could not change the facts. Miss, if not, we will go back to Yu's house now. The proposal was rejected. Yuan Ran said calmly, just make another appointment, as long as it can help the Yu family. Mr. Bei is so angry. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 833. Chapter 833. You are so in need of a man. Normally, a woman would feel aggrieved and embarrassed when encountering this kind of thing, but she didn't expect that Yuan Ran would date a man again. Beiye was so angry that he almost smashed a vase again. There is such a shortage of men. If one doesn't work, just change it. This woman is really calm. It was like that before, carefully calculating everything, what should be done and what should not be done. Yuan Ran had always lived by a measuring stick. Now that she feels that she should save the Yu family through marriage, she will insist on it. Chu Sui saw that his boss was very angry now, but he had to remind him, "Boss, even if we can stop one of us, we can't stop everyone like this." Thinking of that young Master Deng, Chu Sui still felt guilty. They deliberately sent photos of Yuan Ran dressed in old-fashioned clothes, and then instigated Master Deng to find out what a sophisticated and boring woman Yuan Ran was. When Master Deng feels dissatisfied, he will stuff a beautiful woman with a good figure into his arms. In contrast, Master Deng will of course choose to run away. Not everyone is suitable for this technique. Chu Sui said that their boss is becoming more and more difficult to serve. Beye took his coat and went out, making a lot of noise, which showed how bad his mood was. Chu Sui shook his head. Although he knew that the boss's personality was not calm, he was calm when faced with trouble and had the demeanor of a general. Chu Sui rarely saw his boss like this. But that's the boss. Chu Sui didn't dare to say more. Chu Sui only knew that his boss liked the eldest daughter of the Yu family, but the eldest daughter of the Yu family looked down on their boss. As for Yuan Ran, she did make an appointment with someone. Yuan Ran rarely moved around, so he just sat in the private room he had made an appointment with Master Deng. "Miss, what kind of man do you probably like?" The rich one can save the Yu family." The housekeeper waved his hand and explained, "Miss, this is not what I mean. I want to know what the lady really thinks. Even if it is a marriage, I should try my best to choose the direction that the lady likes." Yuan Ran answered directly without thinking, "Then you can't choose." Why? No one likes it?" Having said this, the housekeeper was helpless. "Miss, if you wait patiently, the person from the other party should be here in 10 minutes. Yuan Ran turned around and saw the butler's tense face, and comforted him, "I'm not in a hurry. Actually, I'm really not in a hurry." But as soon as she finished speaking, there was a knock on the door outside. The housekeeper went to open the door and was almost startled by the imposing man at the door. "Excuse me, who are you?" "Keep an appointment." Hearing these two words, the housekeeper suddenly understood and quickly made way to invite the people in. Yuan Ran clenched her fists when she heard the sound. When the footsteps approached and she felt the tall figure stop beside her, blocking a light, she asked the housekeeper to go out first. The housekeeper hesitated for a moment and then left. After all, it was a marriage between a man and a woman, and he couldn't interfere. When only Yuan Ran and the man who came for an appointment were left in the room, the atmosphere became very delicate. "I look good today." Yuan Ran narrowed her eyes slightly. She didn't know how to respond to Kitano's compliment. It is said that a woman's appearance pleases her. It seems that Miss Yu hates getting married. "Yes, Mr. Kitano plans to marry me." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 834. Chapter 834. Kitano, do you want to marry me? Does Mr. Kitano plan to marry me? Unexpectedly, Yuan Ran would be so bold and provocative. Beye stared at her with burning eyes. Yuan Ran has raised her head. With her cool temperament, she seldom smiles. Now she slightly curls her lips, as if she is even more charming than the fairy in the story. She has a unique temperament, like a proud plum blossom blooming in the snow, with her pride, her beauty, and her charm. This is how Kitano sees people. But this face, this delicate and beautiful appearance was carefully dressed to meet other men. Bee lifted her chin and deliberately moved closer, as if he wanted to kiss her. Yuan Ran's eyes were sparkling, but she couldn't help but her heart trembled. Just when she was about to close her eyes, a teasing voice sounded in her ears, "Yuan Ran, I said, you will be my mistress, and I will ensure that your Yu family is safe." Just like her name, she is safe and sound. At that moment, Yuan Ran felt that the cold wind of winter was blowing on her body, and even the proud snow and cold plum trees were swaying in the wind and rain. The feeling before and after is simply worlds apart. How ironic, she is still looking forward to it. After so many years, you still haven't recognized the reality. B. Are you coming back to take revenge on me? Revenge is out of the question. Kitano clicked his tongue and shook his head, looking at her as if he were looking at an interesting toy. Yuan Ran looked at him for a few seconds and then looked away calmly. Since it's not revenge on me, don't interfere with my affairs. What about you? You mean, going on blind dates with men one after another? Yuan Ran, I haven't seen you for so many years. It turns out that you have fallen to this point. Your pride and pride were all eaten by dogs, right? Is pride and pride better than money? That's right. I've known for a long time that you are such a woman. In your eyes, nothing is more important than money. Yuan Ran did not refute. Because now it doesn't matter whether you refute it or not. When Bai Ya appeared and asked her to be his underground lover, everything was no longer important. The past she was obsessed with was so easily shattered by one person. If she had any more extravagant hopes, she would personally deliver Yuan Ran's pride into his hands and let him trample on her. She doesn't want to become that person. Bai Ya, I know you can't get rid of the sand in your eyes. If others disappoint you, you will pay back double. But I, Yuan Ran, never owe you anything from the beginning to the end, so please let me go. Tisk, 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 look at what you said, how you wiped away our past in just a few words. You are such a cruel woman. B approached again, and Yuan Ran turned his head to the left. Since you all know that people like me will retaliate against you, then how do you think I will retaliate against the person who once made me worthless, almost broke one of my legs, and took my life? At that moment, Yuan Ran held her hand tightly. Everything I am now is thanks to you, especially your mother's words that warned me back then. Are you threatening me? Not a threat, just a notice. Just to inform you that he has launched revenge against the Yu family. Yuan Ran caught a glimpse of his stern profile. B. What are you so stubborn about? I said, you will definitely beg me to accept you as my mistress when the time comes. Impossible. Then we'll see. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 835. Chapter 835. She is the woman who is willing to sell herself for money. Yuan Ran's blind date was ruined, and then the Yu group suffered an even more severe blow. Yuan Ran clearly realized that what B said that day was true, and B had the ability to deal with the people she selected as marriage partners one by one. Of course it's not erasure. It's just that those people don't want to have anything to do with the Yu family. This is all Kitano's credit. MRSU, who had not prepared for post-operative recovery, fell ill again due to long-term fatigue and the depression in her heart. Yuan Ran's efforts all became ineffective because they were deliberately suppressed. I wonder who the Yu family has provoked to have such strength. MRSU was still worrying about the company's affairs while lying on the hospital bed. Yuan Ran, who knew the truth in his heart, did not dare to tell her that the reason for all the outbreaks was 5 years ago. Bai Ye, here to collect debts. With Bai Ye's destruction, Yuan Ran's marriage route will not work. Remembering what Ye Weiwei said before, Yuan Ran dialed Ye Weiwei's number and asked for help. Ye Weiwei transferred a large amount of funds to her without hesitation. Yuan Ran took the money and took a breath for the moment. But only for a breath. As soon as a loophole is filled, new problems will arise. Yuan Ran finally understood what her mother said. It would not work if she just borrowed money at night. Ye Weiwei took the initiative to ask if he needed more help. Yuan Ran gritted his teeth and agreed. In addition to accepting help, what else can you do? Really bow your head like Kitano said? To be his mistress? Well. This time, Yuan Ran really felt the feeling of powerlessness. The company's problems couldn't be solved, and Yuan Ran stopped talking to Ye Weiwei. Bei Ye deliberately suppressed, even if he escaped for a while, he would not give up. That day, a note from Kitano was thrown away. Yuan Ran relied on her memory to dial Kitano's personal contact number. Let's talk. Yuan Ran still arrived at the appointed place half an hour early. This time, Kitano used the same method to delay time. But it has to be said that Kitano's method was successful. She couldn't leave, and she didn't dare to leave. After waiting for about 2 hours, the old man slowly arrived. This time we met, Yuan Ran did not deliberately put on old-fashioned makeup or dress up carefully. She probably just put on light makeup to cover up her complexion. Yuan Ran never talks nonsense to others, including this time. When she saw Bei Ye, she asked directly, "Why do you want me to be your mistress?" Bei Ye chuckled, as if he had never seen such an upright woman like her. "Kitano, haven't you heard that the best is what you can't get?" Yuan Ran stared into his eyes, her gaze indifferent, obviously not wanting to talk nonsense with him. Bei Ye opened his fingers slightly and crossed them. When he nodded, a teasing smile appeared on his face. "Okay, to be honest, I just want to defeat you with what you care about most." Yuan Ran said that what she cares about most is money. Then Kitano deliberately used money to destroy her dignity. Yuan Ran understood what Bi meant. "Really, if you get me, you will stop your revenge against the U group." "Then it depends on what you do." Bei Ye replied something unclear. The two of them just looked at each other, each with their own thoughts in mind. "I will not be your mistress." "That's a pity." Kitano was not disappointed by her words. Yuan Ran bit her lower lip, "But you can have me." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 836. Chapter 836. I give you my body. Yuan Ran's words aroused B's interest. "You mean you are willing to let me play with your body?" Bei Ye's straightforward words made Yuan Ran blush until she bled. "It's not the shyness, but the shameful feeling that I have sent someone to humiliate me." Yuan Ran could hardly face herself like this. "Isn't it true? Don't you mean to dedicate your body to me as a deal?" Kitano seemed unaware of her inner feelings. Or maybe Kitano was humiliating her on purpose. Yuan Ran has never found a sentence so difficult for her to say, but now is the most critical time. Bei Ye insisted on forcing her to answer it herself. "Why didn't Miss Yu herself say just now that she wanted me to get you?" "That's what I said." "So what? Change a place." "Okay." Bei Ye answered readily, and the two of them went out side by side, as close as a couple. Yuan Ran was in front of the car window and saw the scene of two people standing together reflected in the car window, and her heart palpitated. It wasn't like this before. When she and Kitano were together, Kitano would definitely have physical contact with her every time she went out, either holding hands or hugging her waist or shoulders. She was not used to it at first, but Kitano said confidently, "My little beauty Ran Ran is so beautiful, I have to keep a close eye on you. It used to be so beautiful. Now, go in." Kitano pushed her into the back seat. Yuan Ran sniffed to calm down, as if nothing had happened. She didn't know where Kitano planned to take her, so she just sat there with peace of mind. The destination was a landscape villa. Only now did Yuan Ran realize that Kitano was also such a sentimental man. Two adult men and women of different genders are alone in a room, what else can they do? Yuan Ran forgot how it started. Anyway, by the time she reacted, her clothes had been torn to pieces. Yes, B is so wild. Yuan Ran's body has never been touched by anyone, and she doesn't like to be in contact with others, so when she feels the hot body close to her and the masculine scent lingering on the tip of her nose, her whole body becomes very sensitive. It is very, very sensitive. She looks like she can't bear it if she touches it. But he was holding it back forcibly and humiliating himself. Baya was flirting with her, but he didn't kiss her. Baya was never willing to hurt her. Looking at such a ruthless and aggressive man, he was very cautious even when he kissed her. Now he doesn't care about her feelings, as if he is venting. Before feeling his sanity collapse, Yuan Ran grabbed his arm tightly and said, "As long as we are clear after today." She means that B's hatred towards the Yu family started because of her, so she would compensate him for her innocence and hate both sides from then on. Do you think you are so valuable? B's words were hard to hear. Yuan Ran closed his eyes, pretending that he was deaf and couldn't hear. She felt Baye's strength increasing, and a tear fell silently from the corner of her eyes. She couldn't see Kitano's expression with her eyes closed, and she didn't know that those tears seemed to fall on Kitano's heart. The most important concern was that B suddenly pushed her away and looked at her calmly. Kitano seemed to be laughing at himself. "I always feel like I am forcing a good family woman." She asked, "Why don't you continue? What's the point of a woman who doesn't cooperate with me? It's not as refreshing as someone from outside." Baya called Chu Sui in front of Yuan Ran and asked Chu Sui to bring a woman to his home immediately. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 837. Chapter 837. He has many women. B asked Chu Sui to bring a woman to his home immediately in front of Yuan Ran. Yuan Ran's face looked ugly. Chu Sui was indeed very fast. He brought a delicate and beauty in less than 10 minutes. After the beauty knew that Kitano was the sponsor, her whole body almost hung on him. After all, who wouldn't like such a handsome and wealthy sponsor? Yuan Ran had no spare clothes, so she could only find a men's loose coat in Kitano's room and put it on, but she stood by the door and did not go out. B didn't look sideways as he carried the beauty into the room next to her. However, the beauty looked at Yuan Ran a few more times and raised her eyebrows at her as if in provocation. Yuan Ran's fingers gripped the door frame tightly, holding back all her emotions. She didn't go anywhere, but she heard an ambiguous voice next door in a certain room. The sound insulation effect is also very poor. Yuan Ran didn't know what he was talking about. Yuan Ran could no longer analyze the time as long as Kitano carried the beauty in his arms and the ambiguous sounds continued. She only knew that the blood stain on her palm was genuine and she had cut it unintentionally. The tool of crime was fingernails. Pain is a good thing, it always diverts people's attention. I don't know how long it took, but the man in the next room finally seemed satisfied and walked out of the room refreshed. It seems that Kitano went back to this room to get clothes. Yuan Ran raised his eyes and could see the lip marks on his neck. They were obvious and dazzling. Yuan Ran felt aggrieved, but she would not cry. She has already failed herself to this point, but unfortunately she overestimated her own ability. No one wanted her even if she came to her door. "Tisk, why haven't you left yet? Are you waiting for me to favor you?" "Listen, what he said is very unpleasant." Yuan Ran replied, "You ruined my clothes." The implication is that she has no clothes to wear when going out. "Oh, that was an oversight on my part." B slapped his head and walked out of the door as if he was very upset. He came back after a while and already had this blue dress in his hand. Baya casually left the skirt on the bed. "Try it on, it might be suitable." He used the word maybe. Yuan Ran didn't look carefully. She grabbed her clothes and went to the bathroom to change. There was a full-length mirror by the door. This skirt fit her perfectly. Yuan Ran felt that her heart was burning. She couldn't help but think about things that had a little bit of special meaning. This is not in line with Yuan Ran's character at all. When she went out, she bumped into the big-breasted beauty again. Yuan Ran has a good memory, so when she saw the beauty, she also changed her clothes, sat next to Kitano and gave him fruit. He said his thanks in a sweet voice, "Mr. Bei, thank you for this set of clothes. I think they are very suitable. Really, that room is all prepared for you, there are all sizes, you can choose whatever you like." Yuan Ran narrowed his eyes when he heard those words. I see. It seems that he really changed women like clothes, torn them into pieces and let people pick them at will. She was overthinking it just now. When Yuan Ran went out, B saw her. Looking at her casually, he seemed very satisfied and said, "This dress is good." Yuan Ran said nothing. Beiye seemed to be tired of it and felt that she was blocking his view too much. He asked in disgust, "Now that you have changed into new clothes, why don't you leave? You don't have to rush. She will leave now." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 838. Chapter 838 An Ran's Tears, Tear Point Chapter. Yuan Ran walked decisively, indifferent or jealous, and seemed to not care about anything. "Get out of here." After Yuan Ran left, B lost his temper again. Chu Sui was very worried. His boss was so angry recently that he, the chief secretary, was almost turning into a mother-in-law. Not only must he find a woman for him, but he must also buy clothes for the woman he finds, and in short, it is a lot of things, and in the end, the woman you have found has to be sent away well, and then you have to pay hush money. Chu Sui felt that his boss was making so much money. But Chu Sui couldn't understand. Didn't his boss just like the eldest daughter of the Yu family and want to get her? Why are you so angry after everyone has gone home and onto the bed, taking off all their clothes? I don't understand, I don't understand. Chu Sui estimated that his boss had menopause early, but Chu Sui did not dare to say. Chu Sui's psychological drama is rich, but his boss doesn't know it. Yuan Ran did not go back to Yu's house. Instead, she went to the warm little home in the community to wash herself off. After she came out, her eyes were a little red, and no one saw her shed any tears. This is just a small episode. She returned to the company the next day, looking at the unfinished work and thinking about unsolvable problems. Beiye doesn't want her, so she has no leverage against Beiye. What can she do? "Miss, the hospital called to say that my wife insists on being discharged." When Yuan Ran heard this, he quickly put down his work and rushed to the hospital. MRSU did not deliberately cause trouble to distract her daughter. She was determined to leave the hospital and go to the company to help her daughter hold up half of the sky. How could Yuan Ran agree? It is easiest for people to see the feelings between people clearly when they are in trouble. Since MRSU's health collapsed, Yuan Ran has gradually seen clearly that maternal love is great. Although her mother was strict with her since childhood, she loved her in her heart. Yuan Ran went to the hospital in person to comfort her mother, but MRSU still did not waver in her determination. "En Ran, I know you are smart, but you are still young and can't fight those old foxes. I want to go back and help you. Please rest in peace and recover." "No, I have to go back, otherwise the Yu family will be destroyed, and so will you." Without the Yu family, Yuan Ran would no longer be the enviable rich lady from now on. As a mother, MRSU cares about both the family business and her daughter. Yuan Ran really couldn't persuade her. Just when MRSU insisted on getting out of bed, Yuan Ran bent her legs and knelt down in front of her bed with a dong sound. Yuan Ran held her mother's hand and promised, "Mom, please give me some more time. I will definitely think of a way. I will definitely find a solution. Please give me some more time." This was the first time Yuan Ran called her mother since she grew up and said such a long sentence. MRSU was moved to tears. Her daughter has grown up and has taken on the responsibilities of the Yu family, but MRSU is so heartbroken. Ayn Rand, it's my mother who is sorry for you. MRSU felt extremely sorry for her daughter. Ayn Rand's eyes were filled with tears, but there was a touch of determination. Please give me some more time. I will definitely resolve the crisis in the Yu family. Warm reminder of Kixi Festival Welfare Group. There will be welfare red envelopes and irregular activities regularly every month in the group. Kaibeo with a fan value of 2000, disciple, or above, first join the book club group 1450160019 and find the manager 3.5 years old, and then invite to the welfare group. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Kixi. Chapter 839. Chapter 839, Kneel outside and wait for him. MRSU finally gave in, and Ayn Rand wiped away her tears and left the hospital. She had a good memory and drove to the villa in B by herself. But Baya didn't see her. He. Ayn Rand smiled bitterly. Perhaps this was Kitano's new way of punishing her. But she no longer cares. When the heartache reaches a certain level, you no longer know what heartache is. Chu Sui came out and asked her to leave. Miss Yu, our boss is very busy and has no time to make appointments with guests. You should go back first. I'll wait for him here. But our boss. Chu Sui was a little embarrassed to say harsh words to such a beautiful woman, but he had to convey the boss's meaning. Boss, he said he can't see you. I know. Miss Yu, why are you so stubborn? It was my fault before, I'm here to apologize. She came here to beg B to let the Yu family go. Chu Sui couldn't persuade her no matter what, so he just shook his head helplessly. Chu Sui has a lot of inner drama. Chu Sui feels that his boss is a bit perverted for being willing to play with such a beautiful woman. If it were him, he would definitely hold the beauty in his hands and love her dearly. Of course Chu Sui didn't dare to tell his boss this, so he just thought about it and used an analogy. He had no evil thoughts towards Ayn Rand. When Chu Sui was about to go back, he heard Ayn Rand's voice coming from behind him. She called out, Secretary Chu. Chu Sui turned around reflexively and saw Ayn Rand kneeling down 10 meters away. Please tell me, I'm waiting for him here. Ayn Rand made up his mind to wait until B no matter what. Chu Sui wanted to go back and persuade her, cooperate and pull her up, but when he saw Ayn Rand's resolute eyes, Chu Sui gave up. I advised Ayn Rand that he might as well go back and coax his boss to come out and meet someone. After Chu Sui returned, he saw his boss writing in the study. He looked very calm and didn't seem to be worried about Ayn Rand at all. But what did you do when you were jealous and angry? Boss, Miss Yu is waiting outside. None of my business. Miss Yu knelt down outside. If she likes it, let her kneel down. I'm still willing to let her be so big. Chu Sui scratched his head. He didn't expect that their boss was so good at turning his back on others, and he had already practiced it to the point of proficiency. Boss, didn't you like this Miss Yu before? But Kitano did not admit it. Which of your eyes saw that I like her? I. Chu Sui swore that he risked his life to answer the sentence. Seeing B's eyes glaring over at him, Chu Sui quickly shut up and didn't dare to mention it again. No matter how you say it, he is just a secretary who gets paid to do things. He dare not interfere in the boss's affairs. Miss Yu fainted. Then send him to the hospital. Huh, don't you feel comfortable taking her home according to the routine? Chu Sui didn't dare to ask, so he could only obey the order. Okay, I'll go out and send Miss Yu to the hospital. But he had only finished half a sentence when he heard his boss giving the order again, come back. Chu Sui stood there and didn't dare to move, and then he saw his boss rushing out at lightning speed. Really, people are gone in the blink of an eye. Chu Sui shook his head and sighed, his eyes unintentionally sweeping across the table. He saw a broken bug on the table. Isn't this the pen the boss used to write with just now? When did you die in infancy? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 840. Chapter 840 Banquet, Her Stunning Appearance. When Yuan Ran woke up, she smelled the smell of disinfectant again. She had a special affinity with the hospital ward recently. If her body continues to be overworked like this, more illnesses may accumulate over time. An originally healthy body turns into minor illnesses due to repeated fatigue, and minor illnesses accumulate into serious illnesses. Yuan Ran remembered that she seemed to kneel down in front of B's villa until she fainted, and the man was cruel and did not come to see her. Yuan Ran opened the door and happened to see Chu Sui talking to a doctor. After finishing speaking, Chu Sui brought some medicine and handed it to Yuan Ran. Yuan Ran said sincerely, "Thank you." Chu Sui thought of his boss's attitude towards Yuan Ran, but he still served Yuan Ran attentively out of respect for she might be the future boss's wife. "Miss Yu, you are working too hard. If you don't adjust your work and rest schedule, your body may not be able to bear it." Most people would smile bitterly when hearing this, and would take the opportunity to express their helplessness, but Yuan Ran put the medicine aside calmly, and said with the utmost care, "Thank you." There is no need for her to tell others about her suffering, because the person who really decides all this will not feel sorry for her. After Chu Sui left, Yuan Ran felt uneasy staying in the ward. She thought that Kitano might have teased her a little when he first came back, but she didn't respond, so the little feeling Kitano had for her was exhausted. Baya is a man who needs passion, but she can't give it. If offering her body doesn't work, she doesn't know what to do. She once knew nothing about love, and the only thing she could touch was given by the man named Kitano. When Kitano no longer guided her, she was at a loss and her emotions were blank. There was a business banquet recently, and Yuan Ran took a break before going out on behalf of his mother. Those around her wanted to persuade her not to be so desperate, but she had to be strong. There are many people at the banquet, maybe she needs to find a suitable partner? This was not the first time that Yuan Ran went out to a party, but it was the first time that she deliberately beautified her appearance and changed into an exquisite evening dress. The beauty with red makeup is stunning, even her beauty is enough for people to spend a lot of money on her. When Yuan Ran appeared, those people could hardly recognize him. "Whose lady is this? I've never heard of her in City S. It still looks a bit familiar." Most of the people at the banquet talked a lot about her. Yuan Ran looked calm and allowed everyone to look at him. I don't know who told her that she was Miss Yu's family, and others looked at her with a little more expression. It turns out to be the Yu family that is going to fall recently. It's better not to get into trouble. Such a beautiful beauty, I will cooperate with her even if I lose money. Many men expressed strong interest in seeing Yuan Ran. But some women will be jealous and speak sourly, so you used to deliberately hide your beauty, but now if something goes wrong at home, you dress yourself up to seduce men. Look at your sour words. Even if she is trying to seduce a man, it is because she is capable. Having proud beauty is indeed a skill. Yuan Ran's plan was successful. She didn't have to seduce anyone in particular. Many men gathered around her and wanted to discuss cooperation with her. At this time, there was another sensation on the field. There is a drama on Chinese Valentine's Day. Recently, people like to let them receive red books. How about leaving a message on 99 and giving a blessing to receive a red book? End of this chapter.